Good afternoon, Steve. Thank you for joining the committee. We have you for 5 minutes this afternoon. Thanks for joining us slightly early. I'll hand over to you to begin your submission.
Thank you. And by way of introduction, I'm Steve Ellis, a resident from Christchurch, along with my wife of 55 years. We've raised and educated 3 children. I'm retired and will celebrate 78 years of age next week. I was born in Christchurch and raised and educated in a single-income, single-parent household. This came about when my father took off for Gisborne with another woman when I was 9 years old. I never saw him again. My 3 brothers and I were raised and educated by my mother, who worked very hard to work off the debt pile left by the old man. We were essentially latchkey kids, having to be independent and organised. My mother died in the late 60s from years of hard work. I worked and paid taxes for some 40 years in various parts of this country and also overseas. I have over the past 20 or so years undertaken various volunteer and unpaid work. I see myself as a New Zealander, a member of the multi-ethnic society governed as a democratic state. I reside in New Zealand, a country that is well recognised internationally as a fair and equitable nation. And I could note, I don't hold a grievance. Turning to my submission, I support the principles of the Treaty of Waitangi Bill, subject to modification of Principle 2 as currently proposed. Paraphrasing, the overarching objectives of this bill are to provide clarity and certainty of future legislation enacted by Parliament, amongst other objectives. Since 1975 and the passing of the legislation of the Treaty of Waitangi Act, this nation, New Zealand, has been undermined through attempts by judicial interpretation to concoct concepts of a Crown-iwi partnership. This has led to an insidious embedding within recent legislation, that is since 1975, of protections of supposed superior right for Maori over other New Zealanders. These are along with unnecessary costly obligations for citizens in business and private enterprise to consult with Maori in the day-to-day running of this nation. In my view, there is no partnership as between the Crown and iwi. The Treaty of Waitangi did not create or prescribe such a concept. Further, those Maori present at the signing of this treaty ceded sovereignty to the Crown. As such, it is the Crown, via the New Zealand government, that has the right to govern New Zealand. In doing so, I believe the government will assert that all New Zealanders are equal before the law. It is not the place of courts and agencies such as the Waitangi Tribunal to continue to finesse the minority interests of Maori to the disadvantage of all other New Zealanders. To continue to do so is an overt exercise in granting an individual or group a political and or economic advantage due to their ancestry, something to be absolutely avoided in a modern democratic society such as New Zealand. Turning to the principles of the Treaty of Waitangi Bill, particularly Principle 2, this strives to create protection for iwi and hapu of certain supposed rights when they are specified in treaty settlements. Such protection, expressly from iwi and hapu, will, in my view, only continue to give the Waitangi Tribunal, with its taxpayer-funded open wallet, a green light to continue to demarcate in favour of the minority interests at the expense and to the detriment of a significant majority interests of all other New Zealanders. Further, it invites the courts to play an exaggerated role in determining a judicial view of the legislation as proposed. In supporting this bill, I urge that this committee modify the proposed Principle 2 by deletion of the specific reference to iwi and hapu and restore the Principle 2 as it was originally drafted. This will protect the property rights of all New Zealanders, thus avoiding any provisions for separate superior rights for iwi and hapu. Leading this bill was promoted by the ACT Party and Mr Seymour in particular, as a well-intentioned and intelligent attempt to correct the lack of balance in this nation's growingly unstable debate around race relations. In my view, there can be no issue with legislation that defines the following for all New Zealanders. 1, the New Zealand government has the full right to govern New Zealand. And 2, the New Zealand government will protect all New Zealanders' authority over their land and property. And 3, all New Zealanders are equal under the law, with the same rights and duties without discrimination. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you for your submission this afternoon. Right on time, so that's the 5 minutes. On behalf of the committee, just want to acknowledge you for being with us and for providing your submission.